Mm. And good morning, Texas. Ericka Reddick here from I Love Your Money. On our second episode of the Love Your Money podcast, I'm super excited today to have Charles Hopkins of Wealth by Taxes with us. Now, you guys know I'm an accountant by trade. I Love Your Money is the name of my accounting practice, but I don't do taxes, you guys, and I have struggled for years to find really excellent, competent tax accountants that I can count on and trust for my clients. And Charles is an excellent person here in Texas. We've been working together now for a couple of months. I'm getting to see his processes, and I can really tell how passionate he is about his clients, about his customers, and the people that he is helping steward their finances. Okay. You guys, I'm going to use that word a lot in this show, stewardship, because it is such an important word that I don't hear talked about enough. I feel like as an accounting professional, it's my job to help you make good decisions and steward your resources, right? And that's what we're called to do as human beings. We are called to make good use of the resources and the gifts that we've been given. And so I can tell he really cares. I can tell he's a good steward with his customers trying to help him. And you guys, I'm super passionate about this topic because, as you know, I am very distrustful of the government. Anybody who has been following me or watching my other channel for any length of time knows that as an accountant, I have gotten to see all of the ways that the government can really harm its citizens, even when it doesn't intend to. It can harm commerce, harm the ability to do business. And right now, we know that the IRS has hired a ton of new agents and they are fixing to audit the crap out of the American people. Okay. So if you're a small business owner, if you are a person in the United States, just be prepared. And so I really want to make sure that my viewers, that my customers, that my clients have the information that they need, the tools to make sure that they don't run into any trouble and that the IRS just, flies over them like the Passover. Okay. So before I say anything else crazy today, you guys, we're going to have Charles join us in the feed. Charles Hopkins, good day, sir.
Good day, ma'am. How's it going, Erica?
Oh, it's so good. It's another day ending in Y, so I can't complain.
There
And
you
if
go.
I
Another
did,
day.
no one would care anyway. So
That's it.
that is
That's
right. We just got to get stuff done.
it.
Just get stuff done.
Get stuff done.
So why don't, before we get started, Charles, would you share with our viewers a little bit about yourself, your background, and
Yeah,
why you're so passionate about wealth by taxes?
absolutely. I'm so passionate about wealth by taxes because of this. Well, first off, Charles Hopkins, Austin, Texas. This is my 18th tax season, so nearly 2 decades working with the IRS.
Okay.
Boom,
Okay.
right?
You got your
And
licks in.
reason why I'm so passionate is because really I meet so many people that end up overpaying in taxes. And when they come to
Mm,
me, they were like, well, hey, look, I've been overpaying. I don't feel like I'm really saving enough. I don't make enough money to save for my retirement yet, or for this or for that yet. And so most people are pretty down on themselves. But what they don't realize is that you actually have these tax-free coupons that you can cash in at any time. Most people let their coupons expire,
oh,
and
wow.
because of that, they end up overpaying. But the thing is, I found out if you can save people money and one of their overall biggest expenses, then you can really make a big difference in their life.
Yeah.
And so that's what I really help focus on is, hey, wealth by taxes comes because if we save you money in taxes, then you turn around and focus on building your wealth with that or investing it in some other way. We found that that's one of the best ways to success.
I love that. I love it. And it's funny, Charles. I'm going to go off on a little bit of a tangent as we
Sure.
get started here. I remember having conversations with friends of mine. They would brag about these giant tax returns that they would get at the end of the year, and I would say to them, that's not a win. What you
Hmm.
did was you gave the government too much of your money, and now they're giving it back to you. And they're not giving it
Right.
back to you with interest, right? Now if you pay your taxes late, you pay penalties and interest on that. But if
Correct.
they hold on to too much of your money, they don't pay you interest. You don't get anything for that. And
No,
so oh, go ahead.
unless you like you it's from a few years back, then they will give you some interest on it. But yeah,
Oh,
for the
for
most part,
real?
no. Yeah, 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 for sure.
When did that start?
It's always been like you'll get a refund and you'll get interest on it if it's like older than 12 months, really.
Oh, so really no. So like normal people are not really going to see it,
No, no,
basically.
no, no, no.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
unless you have past
Um
due tax returns or something like that.
and that's what, if you had not overpaid, you could have taken that money, you could have invested it in something. Even if it was just getting 4% in a savings account, that's better than
Right.
nothing.
Oh yeah, exactly. Exactly. Much better than nothing. IRS pays around 4% too.
Oh, interesting. All
Mm,
right. Okay. But again, they have to hold on to it for longer than a year, which, the
exactly.
average American, they're not going to see any of that.
Right.
So you've been an accounting professional for a long time.
Right.
And what had you like shift your focus? Was there anything in particular that you said, okay, we're not just going to do tax returns anymore. We're not going to just be a simple CPA firm. We're going to be a strategic consultant.
Absolutely.
We're not going to what is it? We're not going to be reactive. We're going to be proactive.
There you go.
So
Yeah.
what had that shift for you?
You know, it was 20 I was it was 2016 and actually had a client that I'd been serving for probably about 4 years at that time, 4 or 5
Mhm.
years, and she was asking me, "Well, hey, how can," she had actually just became an IT consultant. She was making more money
Mm.
than ever. And she's like, "Well, hey, I because I was working with her, I was giving her 100% of all of her deductions back, and I was like, "Hey, is there anything that can be done?" She's like, "Is there anything that can be done to really save me more on taxes, or are we doing it all?"
Mm.
And
Mm.
at that time, I felt like we were doing it all. I was like, "I think we're doing it all. I mean, this is everything else, but let me look and see anyway." Ended up finding my mentor that year, and he taught me about tax planning and
Mm.
tax strategies, and that's what I ultimately became, as a tax strategist. And I realized, people like, Robert Kiyosaki from Rich Dad Poor Dad, he's a
Mhm.
billionaire, but he pays zero in taxes. People like, the polarizing Donald Trump, billionaire, nearly zero in taxes. And then so I started saying, okay, there's a pattern here. If you understand, they clearly understand something differently than the way most other people understand things when it comes to taxes in their business.
Yeah.
So I realized, hey, that was like my turning point. And what I was able to do, we found one strategy that ultimately saved her close to $20,000, not just that year, but it was a permanent strategy. So every year she's in business, she's going to save that. And how it works is like the more she makes, the more you save from that same strategy. So like it's still paying dividends at one
Wow.
point for her way back in 2016.
So now, Charles, you probably don't know the answer to this, but do you know how
Sure.
many pages of tax law is there?
Oh,
Isn't
that's a
it
great
like
question.
isn't it like hundreds of thousands or something like that?
There are thousands. It's not hundreds of thousands, but there are thousands. And I don't know that off the top of my head, but I can look it up for you.
That's what people don't understand, that even if you are just a normal regular person with a normal regular W-2, there are activities that you're participating in that you could turn into a business.
Right.
There are laws out there, and some of it's state, some of it's federal, but there's so many tax laws, and some person somewhere lobbied the government and said, "Hey, we want this special carve out, or we want this special exception, or we want this thing." And you really need a professional to help you find those little nooks and crannies.
Absolutely.
And so how, like, when I argue, like, when I argue with people, that doesn't sound good, but I do. I have discussions with people about whether or not they need professional services. And a lot of people don't want to hire accounts. They think it's just an expense that they don't get anything out of it.
Mm,
But you have basically learned how to find these tax savings, find these strategies, and discover those things. So, what, like, how do you tell people that? Like, hey, this isn't just like your standard deduction, okay? I'm a
right,
tax
right,
professional. You're going to pay me because I'm actually going to save you a bunch of money to find the weirdo things out there.
right, right. Great
Like,
question.
how do you have that conversation with people?
I just really let them know, well, hey, it's equivalent to, so tax planning is clearly an investment. And the reason why is because,
Mm,
most people are wasting money by overpaying the IRS. And I
yes.
know that for a fact. Like, I probably say 90 to 95% of all the people I've met with, they're substantially overpaying the IRS, not just by a little bit, but by a lot. An amount that
Mm,
they would, if they got that back, they would be able to achieve their goals faster. Like, oh, I want to renovate my house, or I want to buy a house, or I want to, hey, I buy
yeah,
a rental property. All that could come a lot faster if they had that extra, fifteen to $40,000 a year that they were overpaying.
that's
So,
amazing.
yeah. So literally just
The
by, go ahead.
Oh, sorry for interrupting. So, um, we say it's an investment, and this is the thing that I tell people. Like,
Yeah,
as an
yeah.
example, I'll give an example. I'm on the general ledger side of accounting, not the tax side. So I always try to make
Right.
it clear to people, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I
Mm-hmm.
had a client who pays pays a monthly fee for accounting, right? So everybody thinks, oh, accounts are just expenses. Accountants are just all you're going to do is cost me money. Well,
Mm.
when I started working with this client, we discovered almost $500,000 in invoicing that he had not sent out throughout the course of the year,
Wow.
because he just never sat down and had someone be like, "What was your project? What was your project? If you bought all these materials, what did
Mm-hmm.
you build?" Because
Exactly.
and so paying us, let's say that was like a $5,000 engagement to do
Mm-hmm.
basic bookkeeping or something like that, right? And
Mm-hmm.
when we earned him $500,000, well, is accounting really still an expense?
Right. Not at
And so
all in that case.
yeah. So say more when you say accounting is an investment, the wealth by tax strategy is an investment. Can you say more about that? Like why that's
Yeah.
so important?
So here's what I say. I say it's kind of like, imagine you have to be somewhere important. And you're in a car. Well, if you don't know how much gas you have in the tank to get you from where
Mm,
you are now to where you're headed, one, you're likely going to break down on the side of the road. And like
yes.
your bit as a business, your cash flow is your fuel. And if you don't know how much fuel's in the tank, you're not going to make it to your destination timely, if you make it at all, because if you end up breaking down on the side of the highway for something as simple as fuel, you know then that's another problem. And another thing is that a clear set of accounting and metrics are going to show you other things, like your check engine light is going to come on sometimes, and depending on the severity is going to show you, all right, well, hey, you're going to break down now, or hey, you're going to have some time to fix it, but go ahead and pull over and address it while the problem is small before you get down the road and
Mm,
end up stranded.
yep.
So your accounting and everything around that is really going to help you save on being really destroyed by like not being clear on what's what.
Yeah. So tell me a little bit, or let's talk a little bit. We were talking a little bit before we got started about how the
Mhm.
IRS essentially hired, uh, thousands of new audit agents.
Right.
And what I'm seeing, and I'm not sure if you're seeing this, but there are certain telltale things that business, let me be very clear. There are certain things businesses mess up all of the time. Charles,
Right.
I know that you know what I'm talking about. Like, oh, we pay people as contractors and then we don't file 1099s.
Right.
Or or we, any number of things that businesses do wrong on a regular basis. So I
For
know for
sure.
a fact, as an example, if a return is reviewed and there is contract labor and no 1099s are issued
Hmm.
or submitted, that's an audit. That's
For sure.
you're now flagged for an audit. So
Hmm.
what are you seeing? What are you hearing as far as these new IRS agents? Like, how nervous should small business owners be right now?
You know what? To be candid with you, really, for most people, they should be pretty nervous. And here's why. Um, Now, if you've been trained and if you know what to look for, hey, you're golden. Don't even worry about it. But if you don't know what's going on, then you're in big trouble. And so I like to focus on principles. A lot of people talk about tax
Mm,
strategies for the general public. I like to focus on principles, and principles are true no matter who it is. Whether it's you
mm,
a person with 1 million employees or a person who's self-employed by themselves, like these principles will hold true. And one number
yeah.
one principle that I say is number one important is documentation. If you don't have your documents
Mm,
properly filed and you're not keeping track of what's been occurring, that's your evidence. And
yeah.
how on earth the IRS has the right to disallow your expenses, meaning, hey, you cannot use these expenses since you didn't follow and document the right process. So, for example, in that
Wow.
1099 things, hey, I paid somebody as a contractor, but I didn't file a 1099. The IRS was like, well, hey, since you didn't do that, you can't deduct that $100,000 you paid that person, which means you're going to pay that extra in taxes for not following the rules.
Oh my God.
Yeah, if you're selected for audit, absolutely. By the way,
Wow.
to answer that other question, there are 70,000 pages, over 70,000 pages of the IRS tax code.
See, oh my God. You got,
Yeah.
okay, listeners, ladies and gentlemen, all of you out there listening, 70,000 pages. And think about this, Charles. Now, I don't
Hmm.
want to throw our profession under the bus,
Sure.
okay?
Hmm.
But like, we get 4 years of college,
Right.
maybe six, depending, right? And then you
Hmm.
sit for a CPA exam. I don't care how good you are, nobody can memorize 70,000 pages.
No, no.
And then one law is only you know you know what's the right word? One law only works in this circumstance unless these other things are in place. And so
Right.
it's like
Prerequisites.
exactly, like you might not even be able to take some of those because of other laws on the books. And then if you don't know those,
Hmm. That's
oh my
right.
gosh.
Yeah, so you're
So
exactly right.
So what do you do? Like how do you hone in on those, like, in how do you sift through 70,000 pages of crazy to help your clients find the things that are best for them?
That's good. You want to know something interesting?
Yeah.
Uh, of those 70,000 pages of the IRS code, 95% of those pages are dedicated to credits, deductions, and savings, ways to save you money. Literally,
What?
believe it or not. Yeah, literally, 95% are how to save, and only 5% of all that is like, hey, here's what you need to pay us. Here's how you pay your part. Did you know that?
Okay. I did not know that. That
Yeah.
is not what I expected. I would have thought
Yeah.
it was the other way.
Right. Most people think it's like that because that's probably what the IRS wants you to think too. I don't know if I'll say that. What I will say is
Yeah, we
they
won't we
want
won't
you to be,
speculate.
yeah, yeah. I will say they want you to be afraid enough of them to pay them what you
Mm,
owe. But there are many, but believe it or not, it's not, you're not a better citizen for overpaying the IRS. You're not, the IRS actually doesn't want you paying more than you're actually required to, because the whole code is written to incentivize actions that help the American economy as a whole. For example, right?
mm, that's
Right
true.
now,
Yeah.
right? So ever
Yep.
since
Yeah.
the Trump tax cuts, also known as the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act, when that
Yep.
first came out in 2017, that really rewrote that was the biggest set of changes since the 60s that we had experienced as a nation in terms of
Yeah.
taxes and tax law
Wow.
reform. Yeah. And so what ended up happening is at one point, the common citizen could write off various things. Now, all the tax breaks go to real estate investors and business owners. So, guess what the IRS wants more of? They want more people creating jobs for the economy. That's why business owners get the breaks. And they want also more housing provided for the country. And that's where real estate investors get good
Well,
breaks.
and it's so, I love that you said that, Charles, because
Mhm.
there's so much conversation about capital, right?
Yeah.
Capitalism, capital, and whether or not it's evil or good or whatever,
Hmm.
depending on your side. But
Hmm.
ultimately, no matter what, you need capital to build things and to create things. And if you don't have excess wealth to invest,
Hmm.
in starting a new business, in building someone else's business, in
Right.
building a housing development or something like that, then we don't have anything. We don't have jobs, we don't have houses, we don't have any, like, I've always found the demonization of investment to be very curious.
Hmm. Hmm.
So if and I actually have a bone to pick with the Jobs Act.
Got it.
Interestingly enough,
Yeah.
see,
Yeah.
most of it I like, but it did some weird things to the Section 174 R&D credit stuff. That has severely negatively affected one of my clients in particular. Are you
Mm.
familiar with that at all? That stuff? Have you had to do anything with it?
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, the R&D tax credit.
Yeah, so basically now this one particular client has to amortize all of their expenses related to the research and development. So for our viewers who don't know, the research and development or Section 174 is related to um uh basically business. I am really struggling with words today, you guys. Clearly I need another cup of coffee.
That's
Oh
all
my
good.
goodness. So it's about making things better, improving things, research and development, right? And
Hmm.
so now that client has to amortize. So that means to take the expenses instead of all in one year, they have to for again, Charles, you know what I'm talking about, but all of our viewers might not. Amortization is
Sure.
like depreciation, right? And you take say $100,000 and you get to take it over 5 years. You have to split it over 5 years. So that one client, because of that change to the R&D credits, went from having a $3,000 net income to a $300,000 net income in 1 year, and they
Hmm.
had to pay 21% tax on that.
Right.
And now and then the tax and then the expenses are getting amortized over time. That change came from the Trump Jobs Act, and I'm very mad at him for that. I'm very mad at
Yeah.
Congress for that.
Yeah.
Do you
Another
have
way
you
to
by oh, go ahead.
I was gonna just explain on it. What that means is, just say if they normally spent $500,000 in research and development expenses, what ends up happening before Tax Cuts and Jobs Act, they can write off the whole 500K, not just a write off, but actually they would get a credit. And a credit
Correct.
and a credit versus deduction is huge. Deduction is you spend 300,000 on something, is going to save you about 100,000 in taxes. About a third of whatever you spend is going to reduce your tax bill. A credit is you get a $500,000 credit. Well, then that's 500. It's dollar for dollar return. It's like money all the way back.
Yep,
So,
exactly.
like
Exactly. So
instead of
you're
getting all that
basically
in one
getting
year,
that you're getting a deduction in your tax liability, not a deduction in your net income,
right?
which you then
Exactly,
get taxed on and whatever. So, yeah.
exactly, exactly.
Yes.
So yeah,
There
so
ho
that's why it's such a big deal. Go ahead.
and there's legislation in Congress right now to fix it, but apparently they're attaching it to like the border bills, the immigration bills, and so the Republicans won't pass it.
Interesting.
Yeah, I know. That's why you guys, I'm a big proponent of single issue bills. Single
I love
if
that
you
too.
yeah, if
Why
you
do you
can
think they
incur
stack these bills together with stuff that doesn't make sense sometimes?
it's it's on purpose, right? These omnibus spending packages
Mm,
are on purpose to cloud what Congress is actually spending their money on and what they're doing.
mm.
Oh, get me started. Get me started, you guys. Okay. So let's see. So one thing before we move on,
Mm,
Charles, I want to share with her, and just a reminder, everybody, I am with Charles Hopkins of Wealth by Taxes today. We are talking about taxes and how to save money, how to not overpay the government,
How to
basically.
not overpay. It's lovely.
Yes. Now you've got this forever tax cut challenge going on right now. Is that right, Charles?
That is right. That is right. So it's basically where you can literally have 5 days to literally ask any question that you have. You know how you get that unclarity, and maybe you hear something at a dinner party, so you think it
Mm-hmm.
might apply to you. Your friends are like, "Hey, you should ask your accountant about this." Then you ask them about it, and they say, "Oh, you don't qualify," or they say,
Yes.
"Hey, no, that's not for you," or "Hey, that's for what," and then you're wondering like, "What is real?" Well,
Yeah.
if you come with your questions, literally we can give you 100% guidance, answers, truth to your facts from somebody who's been doing this for 2 decades nearly, and literally so you can understand what's all next in this whole thing and how can you also save. Like, why is it that billionaires are paying less in taxes than you are?
Mm-hmm.
And so
Amen to
we
that.
show you how to really get the most out of your own money.
I love it. Okay, you guys go to
5 days.
forevertaxcut.com,
Mhm.
sign up for the challenge. I put the link in the comments, and I will also put it in the description of the
Mhm.
video. Okay, so it is July 9th, 2024. What can our viewers do besides call you and join the tax cut challenge?
Of course.
What should they be thinking about now to get ready for year end? How can they be planning for um and of course we've got an election year. Not only
Oh,
is it an election year here in America, but actually I think it's something like two-thirds of the countries in the globe are actually
mhm.
having elections this year, major elections this year. So what do you want to leave our viewers with as they prepare for the election season and year end and what comes next?
Here's what I'll say. So you have plenty of time. This is July. This is actually perfect for tax planning. What is a plan? It's like if you want to ensure success in anything, you want to have a plan. They say those who fail to plan, uh,
Plan, plan to
those who
fail.
plan to, yeah, exactly. Those who fail to plan actually end up planning to fail. What does that mean? What that means is this: just say you want to lose weight, and just say you need to lose 30 pounds, and you have a class reunion coming up, or a wedding coming up, or something, an important event you want to look your best for. Then, so who's more likely to lose the 30 pounds? Somebody who says, yeah, I want to lose 30 pounds. And so, like, you're just saying you want to lose 30 pounds, or someone who creates a diet plan, an
Mm,
exercise plan, and then says, hey, I'm going to do exactly this much exercise, or I'm going to not eat these things, and I'm going to focus on eating these other things, for a period of 45 days. Well, like, who's more likely to
mm,
lose the weight? One who makes an actual plan to do so, or one who says, hey, I want, or one who says, yes, I want to do it. And so, same thing. It's like when we take a road trip, in order to get to where we're going as fast as possible without wasting as much time or gas, we say, hey, let me put this in my GPS, and it's going to give you a road plan to show you
yep.
exactly which stops to take, which turns to make, and how to get there most efficiently time wise. That's what a tax plan does. It says, hey, before the year is over, it crafts the best route for you to go. It's kind of like a tax GPS. It crafts the best route for you to go on to get you to your final destination, while
Mm.
saving you the most in taxes legally. Does that make sense?
I love it. I love it. I love it. And I've shared with some friends of mine that we've had some bad luck with finding tax people, and so I decided, Charles, I decided to go ahead and hire my own CPA. I was like, forget it, I'm just gonna hire somebody to work for me.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna need to get on your schedule, sir, because I know Benjamin and we've got. I know we're overpaying. I just got a copy of a draft of our return to review, and I already know
Mhm.
it's wrong. I'm like, this is no, no,
Mm.
no,
Yeah.
no, no, no.
Yeah.
So so for you guys
Don't file
listening,
it yet then. Don't file it yet.
oh no, I'm not going to.
Okay.
I'm like, screw this. I'm good. No. Oh no. This
Yeah.
well,
You want to know something crazy too? Like you can
yes.
go back up to 3 years, by the way, and get your money back that has been overpaid. A lot of tax strategies can be carried back retroactively, believe it or not. And
Are
so the
you
thing is,
serious?
yeah, literally. Yeah, there's many people who end up getting people come to me and they're like, "Hey, I owe 67,000 or 70,000 to the IRS." And I'm like, "Oh, let me take a look." I'm like, "Did you know you're eligible for XYZ?" They're like, "No, I didn't know, and I really never claimed it." Like, "Did you know we can apply some of these things back the past 3 years too?" And I've done that, and people hold whole tax bills that they've been making payment plans on gets erased, and then the IRS pays them the difference that they have been holding on to from the payment plan. Like you'd be so surprised.
Wow. Wow,
Yeah.
wow, wow. You know what? And you're actually making me think about some things that I've been told by different CPAs over the years that like related to our home-based business that
Mm,
I'm actually curious if is actually not true either. So,
got you.
oh yeah. So be like me, you guys. Get signed up with Charles. Have him review your stuff.
Yeah.
Go to forevertaxcut.com to sign up for the challenge. And okay, anything else you want to leave our viewers with, Charles? What's the best way to contact you
Sure.
other than the challenge website? Is there any other like Twitter,
Absolutely.
social media,
Yeah,
whatever?
yeah. My Instagram is Charles Hopkins Tax. My YouTube is the same, Charles Hopkins Tax, and my Twitter is coming along. You'll
All
be able to find
right.
me on that later. So yeah, for sure.
All
But yeah,
right.
for now,
Okay.
you can also email me, charles@wealthxtaxes.com, and that's wealth by tax.
Okay. And I just Googled you and you came up on LinkedIn. It is, oh my gosh, this picture of you. You look like a young man. You look so much younger without facial hair. Did you? Okay, hold on. I'm sorry. I'm going to share my screen.
Go ahead.
Did you, is that why you started growing out your facial hair?
I did. I like people my parents' age were coming to
Oh,
me, and then
oh, it
they were
won't
like,
get
"I
bigger.
don't know if you're old enough to help me, young man." And I'm like, "I need someone with more experience." Like, well, you didn't ask how much experience I have, and I.
I get that a lot too. It's
Yeah.
probably, I mean, the pigtails probably don't really help.
No, it's
Um,
cool.
but I do the same thing. I'm like, I will go out of my way to be like, oh no, I've been doing accounting for 24 years. And people are like, what, since you were
Exactly.
a child? And I'm like,
Right.
I have good
Like,
genes. Thank you very much.
there you go. Exactly.
Yeah, I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
Okay, so people can find you on Instagram, YouTube, forevertaxcut.com, LinkedIn, all the places, you guys. Charles has just been an absolute gift to our family over
Oh,
the
thank
last couple months. It's been a pleasure to work with you
you. Likewise.
and see your process. It has definitely changed my practice for the better, and I'm very grateful.
Oh,
So you guys check out Charles Hopkins, check out forevertaxcut.com, and we will see you next time.